So one thing that the NPP has not learned up till now is the fact that they still don't want to take responsibility for any of their actions. The old day story of COVID-19 levy and then Russia-Ukraine war is the mantra we've heard for about 3 years now, and they haven't changed. So they can never find the truth as to why they lost the election. Every credible research institution prior to the election predicted that they were bound for defeat. But clouded with political power, they will not hear any of them. In fact, they describe credible research institutions as scammers. So I don't think they even need to do any reflection. Just go back and look at the research findings that was made. And you'll be certain as to why you lost. And I'll give you a few. Look, you talked about banking sector. Every country financial market drives foreign direct investment and also promote trade. It is clear. In 2016, he said the country needed a 9 billion problem, yet we didn't submit any documentation. Lawyer, look, an asset quality review was done by the Bank of Ghana in 2016. That shows the volatilities in the financial market. It also shows the non-performing loan ratio and also capital requirement and good governance practices. And the report suggested that government of Ghana needed to recapitalize those banks with about 9 billion and also strengthen Bank of Ghana supervision and good governance practices. In fact, it was even out of that a sunset clause was introduced to make it a mandatory 4-year renewal term of all MDs of commercial banks. You came and you recklessly, because of political vendetta, victimization. I can tell you some of the banks were collapsed because they thought the person is in court. As at the time that they collapsed those banks and financial institutions, Ghana local participation in the financial market was about 67%. These people reduced it up to 10% local participation. Now we have foreign banks doing well in our country. You said 9 billion. Currently, you've spent 30.3 billion Ghana cedis solving a 9 billion problem. And they still don't get it. When we say, if we say it was 9 billion, why is it that we are still making provisions of 10.3 billion? In economics, what we call panic withdrawals. You don't send that signal. You send a signal to the effect that this bank is going to be collapsed. What do you think will happen to deposited funds? NIB and ADB. It's on its knees, and it needs about 2 billion for recapitalization. Look, in economics, even at the university when we're doing economics, up to this PhD level that I'm doing, we always know that Bank of Ghana serves as a lender of last resort. Senior, it is only under the NPP government that I got to know that a central bank that should be a lender of last resort can, on its own, also need support. A request was made by the current governor of Bank of Ghana. In fact, it validates what was submitted in the mid-year budget review by Dr. Issa Atta, that the Bank of Ghana needs 53 billion recapitalization. The question is, a layman will say, if you ask me, now who I will ask? If the Bank of Ghana itself is asking for support, what do you say to commercial banks? Look, we inherited an IMF-led economy, like they too did in 2017. But we must take, or we must put it in context so that Ghanaians will know where this budget is coming from. This 2025 budget is in response to the difficulties we faced with in 2024. First of all, even under a strict compliance order, structural benchmarks in terms of inflation, that wipes away nominal incomes of Ghanaian workers. An inflation target of 18%, you couldn't even manage an inflation rate at 18% It ended at the year at 23.8%. Primary balance on commitment basis. What it simply means is that shows your fiscal health. When you take your domestic expenditure from your domestic revenue, if it is surplus, it means that you don't need to borrow from external. These people, IMF said a surplus of 0.5%. They move it from 0.2 negative in 2023 to negative 3.9%. And you still don't know why you lost. Then you come to public debt. I think he and the current energy minister, I've witnessed their debates countless times. And he had always reiterated the debt in which the energy sector found itself. And they were in self-denial. So the point is that you cannot leave a country with 726 billion Ghana cedis. That is minus state-owned enterprises debt, Cocoa 32 billion. Road fund, 5.7 billion. Even arrear payments for this year, 67.5 billion Ghana cedis. You create that difficult fiscal space for an incoming government, and yet you have the audacity to still question the competence of or the rationality of as to why Ghanaians voted you out. Finally, look, let's talk about this whole idea of. I saw that he came to the macroeconomic targets.
Macro targets.
Yes. If you look at NPP, and when the finance minister was reading the budget, when they mentioned the real sector developments, they said Ghana grew by 5.7%.
Yes.
They were happy. I was just watching them and I said that, are these people that ruled this country for the last 8 years?
The growth is good.
For example, Honorable Abna, Etiwa West,
yes,
and Dr. Amin Adam should know that GDP growth is not a welfare indicator. The drivers of the growth should be of your concern, not the absolute growth.
True.
Look, yesterday, the Ghana Statistical Service came to the house. We did a committee of a whole. I think Honorable is a former MP, he knows. They came to constitutional bodies when they are coming to brief the house. So yesterday, the government statistician came. And I rose to ask a question to him directly. I said, what was the end year GDP growth rate and what was the drivers of the growth? It will interest you to know 5.7% growth that we saw was led by the service sector in telecommunication. You know the cost of data as we speak in our country. And then he mentioned the growth in gold and mining, 19.1%. He mentioned his life. So you ask yourself, is this the one that you call a growth?
He also talked about construction.
Construction.
Yes.
So my point is that issues like this, you must know the drivers of them. Look at our reserves. When you look at our external performance, external sector development, reserves, they said
No, before you go to the reserves, I want to get some clarity on the issue about growth and the drivers of the growth.
Yes.
So you talked about mining sector, which is extractives.
Yes.
Right? Mining sector. You also talked about construction. You talked about the services sector.
Yes.
What exactly is your issue here? Is it
my issue is this?
Yes. Is it the drivers of the growth, which is your problem?
So let me tell you something. In Ghana, we adopt, if you look at the Ghana Statistical Service 2024 overview
yes.
here.
Yes.
Ghana uses an expenditure approach in determining our GDP. So we use the consumption, investments, government spending, and net export. The point is that if your GDP is growing and it's as a result of investment, it should reflect in unemployment coming down.
Yeah.
It should reflect on performance of manufacturing sector. Ghana manufacturing sector is growing by negative 2.2%. Unemployment as at yesterday when I asked it is 13.1%. So this tells you that the source of the growth is not investment. So your GDP can still grow with government spending and consumption. And that is what they told us, that government spending in the telco industry and consumption of telecommunication services and the growth in the mining sector, that's the extractive sector, is what is leading the growth. And ask yourself, what is Ghana's level of participation in the gold industry? Ghana has a carried interest of 13%. So it tells you that a lot of the factors that influence the growth is repatriated. So there's nothing new about it. There's nothing to be happy about it. Look, I was coming to the external sector. They also mentioned this issue about, they are leaving an import cover of 4 months.
4 months of import cover
as compared to an
IMF
target.
That's the gross international reserve you're talking about.
But they should have also known. And that's why I'm saying that, for me, they should seek my consultancy. I will tell them why they lost. Because you are the same people that suspended the Fiscal Responsibility Act by suspending the debt servicing. We never service our external debt in 2022, 2023, and 2024. So if you are not servicing your external debt, in fact, principal holders of Eurobonds, where they gave them a cruel haircut of 37% of their principal amount. You are having all these situations, and you leave the foreign reserve account there without paying your debt obligation, and you say we should clap for you. So the verdict was out there, and it was clear. I told when President Mahama came to read the State of the Nation address in accordance with Article 667, I said that even prior to his coming, the verdict on your performance was clear for everybody to see. It was so resounding that if you come to the house now, we are like 2/3 of the chamber. That is the scorecard the Ghanaian people place on your 8-year mandate. So it's good to be back, senior, but take responsibility. It's a mark of leadership. You people should just take responsibility. President Mahama said he will fix Dumso. He didn't create Dumso. I'm not sure President Mahama will go to somebody's house and off their lies. He came and met a legacy problem, and he said he will fix it. What has President Akufo-Addo ever confirmed taking responsibility for? Even for SHS, you ruled a country for 8 years without a policy document and legislation. 1 month to election, you say you are not bringing the legislation, and NDC don't want to do. Ghanaians saw the mockery of your government. You were insensitive. Election year, prices of fuel was still skyrocketing. Dollar was still worsening against our cedi. 19% depreciation in an election year. Then they brought gimmicks. They bought drip machines. In my constituency, they came. Then they put Baumia with their parliamentary candidates' photo. Ghanaians saw through all these deceptions. The best measure, if you look at Article 36.1, they are lawyers, directive principle of state policy. The main purpose of government is to improve the welfare of the citizenry. And the welfare of the citizen is clear that 2.3 million Ghanaians cannot afford 3 square meals, according to the multi-poverty dimension conducted under the Ghana Living Standards Survey 7. It's clear, the jury was out there, and every research showed that Ghana was headed in the wrong direction. Every research. So this member committee that they have set up to go and do fact finding is a needless proposition to me. I think it's just a way for them to keep themselves busy. But they must do the reflection using the outcomes of the 2024 or 2020-2024. At least they had a little goodwill in 2020. Despite our belief that the election was rigged, they still won with a slim majority, in fact, almost a tie, because 137, 137. But the goodwill eroded completely in 2022, when inflation rose to as high as 54%. They lost the election, and I want to quote from Kennedy Japan. They lost the election in 2022 because Ghana cannot be an island. That for you, when it comes to your government, we shouldn't compare you to any neighboring country. We should rather compare you to US and Canada. But when it gets to NDC government, you say our neighbors in Togo were doing better. Dr. Bambe organized a series of lectures comparing us to Cote d'Ivoire. So this idea of COVID-19, Russia-Ukraine war, banking sector cleanup, you are just regurgitating all what we've been hearing.
Okay.
It's nothing new.
Right.